The Waco Massacre, one of the deadliest standoffs in American history. How did it get here? Well, for that you need to go back 51 days. So this guy, David Koresh, said, you know what's cool? Guns. A hell of a lot of them. Koresh is the leader of this isolated cult known as the Branch Davidians. And, there's this shipment that breaks open, and turns out it's a lot of fragmentation grenades. And the shipping company's like, that's not good. So they contact the FTA. Did I just say that backward? The AFT. No, the ATF. Gee, oh Lord. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. And they look into these records of what Koresh has on this compound, and it's all legal, except for the fact that they have parts to make automatic weapons. Ooh, and 2 50 caliber machine guns. So the AFT plans to raid this compound. However, word gets out and Koresh learns about this raid. So they barricade themselves inside the compound. And by the time the AFT arrives on the February 28th, 1993, with warrants for the arrest of Koresh for child abuse and weapon violations, there's allegedly an accidental weapon discharge, and a violent firefight erupts. And it ends with a ceasefire because 4 AFT agents are dead and 11 more are wounded, and 6 Branch Davidians died, and there were more wounded, including Koresh. Then the FBI decides to get involved, and they set up a negotiation to release the women and children from the compound. But Koresh says, well, for every time you air a sermon of mine on live radio and the TV, well, I'll release 2 children. He's quoted in saying, I am more willing to come out when I get my message from my commander. Now, I assume that he is referring to his commander as God, and there's supposedly a prophecy from Koresh. I don't know. But unfortunately, only 4 children released on the night of the 28th. Now, for 51 days, there was this uneasy tension in the air, and throughout it all, many children were released, and all that were left were Koresh's own children. And he is quoted now saying, "These people remain here because I have thoroughly opened them to the 7 seals." This is believed to be referencing the book of Revelation, in which the cult kind of worshipped and believed upon. But on April 19th, the FBI had enough with this circus that Koresh was playing, and with help from the National Guard, they rammed tanks into the compound and deployed 400 canisters of tear gas into the compound. Now, Koresh was planning on this, so he made sure that they had a supply of gas masks. And the final thing that the FBI heard before the Branch Davidians cut off negotiation broadcast was Koresh telling his colleagues to pour fuel onto piles of hay. And what happened next was another firefight, and in fact, fire in 3 different parts of the compound. And unfortunately, after these fires started, only 9 individuals were saved. In the end, 76 Branch Davidians died. 20 of them were children, and 2 of them were miscarried babies. The public was in an outcry after the tragedy. Many people protest the brutality and blame the government for how they carried out the standoff. And it also inspired the Oklahoma City bombing exactly 2 years after the last day of the Waco siege. This standoff is the closest connective tissue of politics and power. It caused a political chaos within the heads of the FBI and the ATF, and it changed how standoffs like this were dealt. And instead of going in guns blazing and raiding a compound. It came to be a more diplomatic stance in attempting to release hostages.